Hello again everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the study article for this weekend, January 25th to 26th, 2025. So friends, we extend you a warm welcome. Thanks for joining us. And now, let's jump right in. The study article number 46 entitled, Brothers, are you reaching out to be a servant? A ministerial servant? The theme text reads, there is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, Acts 20:35. So the purpose of this article is encourage the baptized brothers to reach out and qualify as servants in the congregation. Okay friends, let's start with the first paragraph, and the question reads, how did the Apostle Paul feel about the ministerial servants? And it's very noticeable that Paul greatly appreciated the servants from his day. For instance, when writing to Christians in Philippi, he specifically greeted the servants along with the elders. Okay, let's move to number 2. How does a brother named Louis feel about his assignment as a ministerial servant? He's very happy serving the brothers and sisters. He said, I feel so privileged to do the work of a servant, especially when I think of all the love the congregation has shown me. So we notice how he enjoys serving the brothers and sisters in his congregation. Number 3, what questions will we consider in this article? If you are baptized, brother, and you are not yet a servant, could you make that your goal? That's the first one. The next one, what might motivate you to do so? And the third one, what are the scriptural qualifications that you need to meet? The first subtheme reads, what is a ministerial servant's role? Number 4, what's the role of a servant? So they are serving to the congregation in many practical matters related to organizing the field service, technical matters at meetings like audio and video. Some are servants of territories, publications or literature, cleaning and help with maintenance and handling audio and video, etc. And in this image, we observe some of their work, organizing the literature, cleaning, attendance, operating audio and video during the meetings. Valuable service they are doing. Number 5, what does it mean to reach out? The brother can reach out for this privilege by studying these scriptural qualifications and then working hard to meet them. The next one reads, what motivates you to reach out? Number 6, let's read it first. Matthew 20:28. Just as the Son of Man came not to be ministered to, but to minister and to give his life as a ransom in exchange for many. So what should motivate you to perform any kind of service for your brothers and sisters? And the answer is love. Love for Jehovah, and of course, love for brothers and sisters. Love for Jehovah and is the motivation, the right motivation. Everything someone is doing must be motivated by love. Jesus is our example. He was motivated by love for his heavenly Father and love for people, and that love drove him to do his best and to carry out humble tasks for others. So we appreciate in this image how Jesus is washing the feet of the apostles, and By example, not just through words, Jesus teaches his apostles to serve others humbly rather than to seek a position of prominence. We think for a moment Jesus, the King of Kings, the Holy of God, is washing the feet. That's really significant, and we notice their reaction, how this image, we observe their reaction. Some of them are surprised of seeing this action. Normally was the lowest servant who was doing this work, and Jesus is doing like he's the lowest servant, setting up the example. Number 7, why should a brother avoid selfish ambition? Because that brother with selfish ambition might become a real threat to the brothers and sisters in the congregation. That's really important. And of course, that would cause him to lose the blessing of Jehovah. If such ambitious person were to be appointed in the congregation, he would likely refuse to serve, to help, to do some of the humble tasks needed to care for Jehovah's precious sheep. He might consider such tasks to be beneath him. Number 8. What counsel did Jesus give his apostles? And Jesus told to all the 12 disciples, whoever wants to become great among you must be your minister, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of all. Brothers who reach out with the proper motive, that's to serve others, will be a real blessing to the congregation. On the other hand, someone with the wrong motive might be a real threat to the congregation. What can strengthen your desire to reach out? Number 9, how can you strengthen your desire to reach out? One thing is thinking of the joy that comes from serving to our brothers and sisters. Thinking the joy of serving others. And that's what the Bible states at Acts 20:35, Jesus' words, there is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. And Jesus applied this principle in his life, and some people appreciate what he did, others, they don't really care at all, but Jesus was applying this principle. Since he was always guided by this principle, he was truly happy serving others. Okay, now let's take a look of the scripture at Mark 6:31 to 34. And this one reads, and he said to them, come yourselves privately into an isolated place and rest up a little. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure time even to eat a meal. So they set off in the boat for an isolated place to be by themselves. But people saw them going, and many got to know it, and from all the cities they ran together and on foot and got there ahead of them. Well, on getting out, he saw a large crowd, and he was moved with pity for them, because they were a sheep without a shepherd, and he started to teach them many things. So how did Jesus show that he was happy to serve others? With this disposition to help others, he was sacrificing time for meal, time for rest, but he was there. We see in this account that he lived to serve others. And another practical way to serve others is sharing some teachings. He shared his teachings his Father's teachings with them. So teaching those who want to learn is also another way of serving others. And again, he sacrificed his meal and rest time to help others. He gave more than what was expected of him. That's the extra mile. He did so not because he had to, but because he was moved with pity for them. 11. How did Jesus serve his listeners in a practical way? He also cared for their physical needs. He fed them. He performed this miracle of miraculously multiply the fish and bread, and his disciples helped him to distribute it. In this way, he taught them what it means to serve others. That's why ministerial servant is someone who's serving others, like these disciples in this context. So he showed them that helping in practical ways, as ministerial servants do, is also important. They had been able to collaborate with Jesus in the miraculous distribution of food. However, the Bible says that in a different day, this crowd was looking for Jesus, and they want to take advantage of Jesus. They want to get free food again, and Jesus was not able to do so. Why? Because he understood they just want to take advantage of him, and instead of giving them more free food, he encouraged them to work hard for the spiritual and of course for physical food. So it's really interesting the balance of Jesus between these matters. So love for Jehovah and desire to serve others will move us to serve the congregation in any capacity. We notice how Jesus humbly serves his disciples. On the right, a servant helps an elderly brother in the congregation. He's not avoiding helping this older brother. Number 12, why do none of us have reason to feel that we have little to offer in the congregation? Because the Bible states that at 1 Corinthians 12:12-30, that all we are important members of the body. Of course, not the governing body, but let's read it. It says, "For just as the body is one but has many members, and all the members of that body, although many, are one body, so too is the Christ. For by one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all made to drink one Spirit." Okay, we are members of the body. In the past, the organization applied this principle, these verses to the anointed ones. But now, according to this paragraph, is applying to all the congregation, all the members of the congregation. All are valuable members of the body. So, you are important, and that's a real important matter, and it's really nice to hear that all we are important members of Christ's body, members of his congregation, and he paid not just a high price, but this is the highest price, his own blood. And our value is not determined by specific privilege. However, we recognize that privileges are temporary. So our value is determined by Jehovah's and Jesus' approval. And that's a real matter and really significant point to think about. Number 13, what is true of most of the qualifications for appointed men? So the qualifications are in the Bible. No one should add or delete some of these qualifications. That's really important. And most of the qualifications apply to all Christians. In fact, all Christians, men and women, should draw close to Jehovah and experience the joy of giving and serving others. How to reach out? Okay, let's read some of the requisites from the Bible. 1 Timothy 3 8 to 10 and 12. It reads, Ministerial servants should likewise be serious, not double-tongued, not indulging in a lot of wine, not greedy of dishonest gain, holding the sacred secret of the faith with a clean conscience. Also let these be tested as to fitness first, then let them serve as ministers as they were free from accusation. 12. Let ministerial servants be husbands of one wife, presiding in a fine manner over their children and their own households. So what does it mean to be serious? And someone who is just reading this verse and is not considered the context might think is someone with no humor sense, someone who never is laughing, but that's not the right meaning of this expression. The real and proper meaning refers to the seriousness with which an appointed brother is handling or taking care of his assignments and responsibilities. That's the real matter of this of being serious. It doesn't mean that they cannot laugh or have a sense of humor. They are not soldiers, but for some reason, some brothers in the past, they thought that was the meaning, and they thought that they were soldiers and they didn't laugh. But of course, that's not the meaning. And they must take all their responsibilities very seriously and be trustworthy people. So they have this good reputation. Number 15. What is meant by not double-tongued and not greedy of dishonest gain? It means that you are sincere, honest, and trustworthy. You keep your word and you don't deceive others. The person is not participating at gossip or spreading rumors of lies about others. And what about dishonest gain? This means that you are honest in your business dealings and in handling money. So business, commercial business, or what the person is doing to gain some money, or secular work, and of course he's handling the money of the congregation. And it says also, is adding, you wouldn't take advantage of your brothers and sisters to make money. So this is related with scams, someone who's lying and taking advantage of others with dishonest dealings, and or someone who's trying to scam the brothers and sisters with this business, dishonest business, etc. What does not indulging in a lot of wine mean? And in other words, means that you don't overindulge in alcohol or have a reputation for being a heavy drinker. And this is not just for the brothers or sisters who are not ministerial servants, it's for anybody in the congregation. And someone might say that's not a sin, drinking alcohol is not a sin, but there are some things and are not a sin, but are not a good example. So what about if the person is claiming that he's doing so because he saw some of the elders and their wives being heavy drinkers. So of course that's not a good example. But this is not a requisite or qualification just for those who are trying to reach this privilege. This is also a qualification or requisite for those who are serving in this capacity. Elders, servants, COs, Bethelites, missionaries, etc. Even the members of the governing body also, we must be careful with what we are doing in public. Question B, what does it mean to have a clean conscience? In other words, it means that before Jehovah, you have the moral and spiritual solvency of not living two lives or double life of hiding sin. In one life, the person is serving in the congregation, but in the other life, the person is practicing sin. It keeps saying, it means that you live according to Jehovah's standards, moral standards. Although you are not perfect, you enjoy the peace that comes from a good relationship with Jehovah. 17. How can a brother show himself trustworthy while being tested as to fitness? When the elders give you an assignment, carefully follow their instructions and the guidelines provided by the organization. So the elders must learn to give right instructions, good communication, instead of assume that the brother instantly knows the procedures or the instructions. Make sure that you understand what the assignment involves and when it should be completed. As you handle each assignment diligently, others in the congregation will notice and appreciate your good progress. And by giving baptized brothers assignments, elders can test them as to fitness. Now, the organization is encouraging the brothers, the elders, the body of elders to use to training the young ones in the congregation. And of course, they are not baptized, but they are exemplary in some aspects. The idea is training them to be servants in the future, in a near future. Okay, and now we hear this announcement that brothers with 18 years old, they could be appointed as ministerial servants, and brothers of 21 years might be appointed to be elders in the congregation. Okay, now what does it mean to be free from accusation? And this means that no valid charge of serious wrongdoing can be brought against you. Of course, Christians might be falsely accused. Jesus was the subject of false accusations, and he foretold that his followers would experience the same. But there is a significant difference between a rumor versus the evidence. But there are some people, and it doesn't matter if there is evidence, they deny the accusation, but there are proofs, there are evidence, so that requires discernment and good judgment from the elders. Because if someone with a valid accusation is appointed, this might discourage the congregation. 19. What does being husbands of one wife involve? If married, you must hold to Jehovah's original standard for marriage, one man and one woman. A Christian man should never commit adultery or sexual immorality. But more is involved. You must be loyal to your wife, never giving inappropriate attention to other women. A biblical example of this matter is Job, and we read about it, about the covenant he did at Job 31 verse 1. 20. How does a man preside over his household in a fine manner? If you are a family head, you must take your responsibility seriously. not just the spiritual responsibilities, but the material or money responsibilities. And this includes conducting family worship every week, being in the ministry and in the meetings every week as frequently as you can. Help your children to develop a personal relationship with Jehovah. That's a great and big challenge for parents, and they must think before to give this step. Another comment: a man who cares for his family shows that he can look after the congregation. And the last one is 21. If you are not yet serving as ministerial servant, what can you do? Pray to Jehovah and study the information from this article. Discuss the requirements for servants and strive to fulfill them. The brother should think about how much he loves Jehovah and the brothers and sisters. Strengthen his desire to serve them. Okay, friends, now let's recap what we consider in this article. How would you answer? What do we learn from Matthew 20:28? We learn that Christian life means service, serving others. We learn that Christian life is service, living to serve with joy, and as Christ did, who helped many people, not just spiritual help, but physical help, or practical help, who had not asked him. Others didn't appreciate what he did for them, but he did it. He made the decision to serve and is an example for us. What do we learn from Mark 6:31-34? It's true that we preach and take our Christian life seriously, but there is nothing wrong with take a time for rest for a moment or for a meal, pausing and having a snack. We are not in Jesus' place. I mean, we don't have a crowd of 5,000 people before us asking for our help. Of course, we are not Jesus, so we must be reasonable. We shouldn't think that take a moment to rest during the service, especially if the weather is really, really hard. That's a grave sin. We shouldn't think that take a moment to rest or drink something is a grave sin during the service. Of course not. And Jesus is giving the example in this account. Jesus did this by giving us an example of being reasonable instead of severe or extremist. Sometimes we'll also have to give more to others, like the extra mile, sharing words, sharing teachings, sharing methods, sharing our lives with them as Jesus did. What do we learn from 1 Timothy 3:8-10 and 12? The organization encourages baptized men to meet the requirements to serve as servants. No one is perfect, but they are expected to meet the requirements to a reasonable degree. Okay, friends, dear brothers and sisters, that's a wrap for this video. Thank you so much for joining us in this consideration. Stay safe and hope to see you in our next broadcast. Bye for now.